Anyway, let's get to the real topic here. So on Friday night, you played with your band Tiny Mountain, a gig that was live streamed on Facebook. Tell us about that. Like, what made that happen? How'd you get that happening?
So we're pretty good friends with the guys at Wuha, who are the ones who invented Studio45. So Wuha are they're more of a vision-based company that supply like lots of LED walls and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But since the crisis happened, they've just built a studio inside of their warehouse, and they've called it Studio45.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they want to like start like bands on Friday nights kind of thing. They want to like get this going, so they asked us to come in and kind of be one of the first to kind of trial the live stream and see how it would work and all that kind of thing.
So it's like it's a live gig essentially. Like you get a full live gig, but there's no audience. It's just streamed directly to Facebook or whatever medium that the artist chooses, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, it was sick, man. It worked out pretty well. We're pretty stoked with the results.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was watching it, so I can attest to how cool it looked. You had some pretty epic looking production there. Well, like what was it like? What'd you have there? Tell us. Like, let's start with audio. Like, what kind of gear were they talking? This is a gear show, so let's have a look at like what they were supplying, how it was all sounding, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, Matty Goldsmith, who owns Stage Pass Production Audio, he actually brought in his Midas Pro consoles.
Cool.
So he was mixing on that, and that's why it sounded so good. The mic choice across the board was pretty much all Goldie and Gerard. Gerard was his partner in crime that night. Except for the snare mic. The snare mic was mine. Just because like I know that snare in particular responds well to this one that I've got.
What is it?
Yeah. I'll just tell you about it. It's actually an Audio-Technica AE 5100.
Yeah.
Which is the same snare mic that we used to record Nothing More to Say in the studio.
I remember when we went and recorded your...
Oh, you were there for that too.
Your session, and we plugged in that microphone, listened to it for the first time, and you pretty much decided right there and then you're going to buy it. It's a phenomenal sounding microphone.
Oh, it's so good.
See, it's the only mic that I've heard that's like, yeah, this is better than SM57 on a snare. Like, straight up.
Yeah. It's just so clean. Like, yeah, lots of good cancellation and nice frequency response. It's a condenser mic, which is a bit strange to have on a snare, but it just works so well.
Yeah.
So, other than that, it's all pretty standard across the board. The backing tracks setup was like the big change for me, and that's kind of like what I spent all week trying to get those right, because before that, all the shows I played was just a mono backing track set, which had a whole bunch of stuff in it, which is like all our synths, backup guitars, and percussion, all the rest of the tracks.
Bass guitar,
just in that one bass guitar, yeah. All just in one mono send, which is a bit average for a front of house engineer. I know.
And for everyone who doesn't know, your band Tiny Mountain is a two-piece, so there's only one guitar, one drummer, and both of you share lead vocals. So there is a bit in the backing tracks going on.
Oh yeah, there's a ton. But we were getting like weird feedback from our smaller shows, at least, saying that like that no one could really hear the tracks or whatever, and I kind of just put that down to the mix of the track, because if there's too much low end, they can't bring the whole track up to get the synths up and all that kind of thing if the low end's like really pumping.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, where I'm like, all right, I just need to do this properly, and And yeah, I did, and it took me a long time to get it right. But yeah, it took me about 3 full days to actually get the tracks sounding tight, mixed, and kind of mastered all to the same level. And
Yeah.
I had to like mix all of the tracks to kind of make them all sound. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, just all flow into each other without really thinking, oh, that track was really bright, or this one was really dark.
Yeah.
You know, or this one's got this missing, or something like that. You got to kind of make them all sound cohesive. That's the word I was looking for, cohesive. Yeah, so I changed that setup, and yeah, so I'm running all of my tracks out of my laptop straight into a Motu interface.
Yeah, and yeah, so the front of house engineer has like so much control now.
Yeah. So instead of sending one to front of house, I'm sending 8 tracks.
Beautiful.
So yeah,
Good control.
Isolated, which was cool. Yeah, no, it worked out so well, and that way Ed got click as well in his in-ears, which made a huge difference.
The
I didn't have
guitarist.
to count into any of the tracks.
Oh, nice.
Which, like for us, like seems way better than me having to count into every track. So we're pretty spoiled with the in-ear setup.
Hell yeah. So yeah, you're rocking in-ears for your live monitoring. No live sound on stage, which is pretty interesting for a gig like that. It would have been interesting being in the room where there's just like nothing going on, like because I mean you got the guitars and drums, but you can't hear any of the backing tracks and you can't hear the vocals. Yeah, so it's all going in through your ears.
Like the crew would have just heard nothing but drums and a little bit of guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, the crew that was in the room who were doing cameras and vision.
Yeah.
But yeah, audio was in a different room completely. They kind of set up like a little booth studio thing inside of the offices, if that makes sense.
That's cool.
So they could properly mix it. Yeah.
Sweet. And so camera-wise, you had how many cameras? Because there was a lot of switching going on.
There was a lot of switching. I can't tell you specifically how many cameras. I think it was about 6 or 7.
6 or 7 cameras. That's pretty incredible. That's a pretty hectic live show.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think there was about... Oh, Ben sees this. He's going to be like, oh, you got it wrong. But there was like, I think there was about 4 or 5 PTZ cameras, which are all remote control cameras.
Yep.
There's about 5 of those. There was one like GoPro-esque type camera that was right next to me, looking down at me, over my shoulder kind of thing. And then there was a camera on a jig, like full-on studio style.
Oh, wow.
Like with the big, the big jigs.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Which was sick. And incredibly hard to operate.
Yeah.
It was like we kind of bumped in on the Thursday night. And it was there, and I tried to just have a little bit of a play with it.
Also,
it's kind of like...
So it's on a remote thing that you control around the stage.
So a jig is like the camera crane.
Yeah.
That's counterweighted, so you can kind of move the camera over the crowd and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. Yeah.
So there was only one.
But the actual gimbal on the end of it is all remote controlled.
Oh wow.
So like where it's like looking up and down or whatever and zooming and all that is all remote control. So you move it all, like you move the crane physically with 2 hands, but then you've got like the joystick and buttons moving the camera as well. And I'm just like, this would be hard. This would be harder than flying a plane or something.
Yeah, that's epic.
To make that look good. So like to see that's some of those smooth shots that were happening with that. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Oh, and
I got a newfound respect for those guys.
The show looked great because there was switching going on. It's going all around the place. We were seeing like the whole angle of like it was like a real pro show. I mean, you guys are pro musicians, but for something that was like a one band live stream in a warehouse, it was pretty incredible look. What did you guys have in terms of lighting? Because it was
heaps of lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was at least 2 trusses up, I'm pretty sure, from memory.
Mm-hmm.
I can't give you like specific lights. There was maybe like upwards of 8.
Oh wow.
Like your standard conventionals.
Yep.
With with like filters over them. There were so many movers. I don't even know how many movers there were, because like they had some like in between the screens,
Yeah.
and then like outside of the screens as well.
Yeah.
So there's probably a total of like almost 12 of those.
Yeah.
Just like in parallel with the screen, the LED wall behind us, and then above that there was like another 8 movers plus a whole bunch more. Like there's heaps.
Yeah. And so you had well, actually, let's talk about the LED walls, because they were like by far the showstopper there.
They were the star of the show.
Yeah. That kind of drove the whole thing to another level of professionalism. So you had 3 LED walls kind of around you. So you one behind, and then 2 on a bit of an angle, so that it took up the whole background all the time. How tall were those? Like what kind of sizes are we talking with those LED walls? Estimate.
I think, like meters wise.
Yeah.
It would have to be over 10.
Yeah. I reckon they were like. They would have been like 10 meters wide and like 4 meters high, I reckon. Maybe 3 meters high. But they looked huge. And you had mad content running on the back of those, which looked amazing. That was like, that took the whole thing to another level, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like so nice of the Wuha guys. It was Reese from Wuha specifically, who asked me, he was like, what do you want on the LED wall behind you? And I was kind of like, well, I've got an idea in my head of like what it kind of should look like for every track. But I don't really know how to tell you. And he's just like, look, they have like a massive account for stock footage and stuff. So he just goes, check this website out and just kind of get the content, download the content that you want for each track. And then we'll chuck it up as each song comes on.
That's nice.
And then I said, sweet. I'm like, can I get my logo over the top of it as well? Which I've got on my hard drive. And he goes, yeah, no worries. So I went through this website for probably about, 45 minutes and picked out the clips that I wanted. And then he did the rest of it. He's the one that shaped it to the LED wall. He's the one that like put the logo over the top and made it look pretty. They were kind of messing with the logo position for a while to match the camera angles and stuff, because they didn't want it too low or weird looking. But yeah, they did such a good job.
Yeah, that's sick.
Such a good job.
So
these guys are used to doing arena shows, with big bands.
Yeah.
So it's like with us, they're just like, this is the easiest gig ever.
Yeah. So you had a vision, like a content guy for your LED walls. You had a camera switcher. You had a camera operator.
Yeah.
Audio mixer. Just one audio guy. You didn't have monitors.
No.
Yeah. And
No. So Gerard was kind of like the assistant, or like the stage manager kind of thing of audio. Goldie was mixing.
Yep.
He was doing all the sound. But Gerard, I think, ended up being on camera switching for a little bit, and then I think he swapped to something else. I can't remember. But someone else was on lighting as well.
That's cool.
And somebody else, Ben Bartlett, who used to work for Convention Center.
Haven't seen him in a while.
He was doing the live stream.
Yeah.
He was doing all the live stream stuff.
Yeah.
So the countdown timer, all that stuff at the very start was all him.
Looked so good.
Which was super cool, because we nailed that the intro.
Yep.
So the countdown timer went straight to 0, and then we played straight away. There was no there was no silence.
Yeah.
Which was stoked, because he was counting it down to us in our in-ears.
Cool.
That's how we got that like right on the money.
That's sick.
I was so stoked when we watched that back. We're like, we nailed that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, because it hit.
But that was all Ben.
It hit, what was it, 8 o'clock, and it was just like 8 o'clock. The clock turned over, and you guys hit your first chord. It sounded really cool.
Yeah. We're pretty stoked with that.
Good stuff. Well, do we have any? And do you have anything else you want to say about that show in particular, or anything like that? Or should we move on to the gear side of this conversation?
Other than just like how lucky I felt to be able to play something like that.
Yeah.
And both me and Ed were just so stoked that we had that opportunity, and to see kind of like what we had in our heads for such a long time actually on a stage happening.
Yeah.
So like it was really cool, especially like playing. I think Golden playing that acoustic. Were like that was kind of like a new level for us because we'd never played it like that before, and it worked really well. So
Yeah, that's probably
like
that's your
we
like
came
most
out of
chill
that
song.
feeling real good.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and the fact that we revealed all of our tracks.
Yeah.
Like we've only released 2 tracks, but we played the rest all live.
That's
really cool too. So
yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
hell yeah.
All right. So we got a good review of that gig, which was awesome, and you guys can check it out. We'll see if we can throw a link down in the old description after we finish this, so you guys can check it out. But if you head over to the Tiny Mountain Facebook page, they are there. Flecked Sound asks, "Did you hear us clapping?"
It was very faint. I could hear you through Facebook, mate.
You should have seen, like, in the comments section, everyone's just like, yeah, like wanting to do the scream, but knowing that they were just sitting behind their computer. So
Yeah, that was weird. Actually, that was one thing I might just like touch on, is finishing a track and then just complete silence.
Yeah.
Knowing how many people were watching and stuff. That was quite bizarre.
Yeah.
We didn't really know what to do with ourselves. That was something we didn't really think about or predict.
Yeah.
We didn't know if anyone would actually be in the studio or not.
You had something like 800 views on it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like that.
which is probably more now.
It's crept up over time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool.